So our next presentation this evening will be our operations and facilities presentation, and I'd like to welcome up Mr. David Spittal.
Good evening, everybody. I, like was stated before, was thrilled to see last night how many people were interested in what I do for a living. It was awesome. Usually I'm talking to Dan and about 23 people on TV about it, and last night we had about 100 people there, and it was very, very exciting for me. So thank you all for showing interest in our facilities here. So tonight I'm going to talk about facilities, transportation, and how I view it as building strength and stability for the district. So I had this at the end of my presentation, but I moved it to the beginning because it kind of, this is what keeps me up at night and drives what we do and how we view projects here. So these are what drives cost increases for my department here. And obviously inflation, I put it in red there. I think you've heard in the news that inflation's been a difficult issue for everyone. Here in my department, the cost of materials have skyrocketed during the last several years. Also had contractual costs increase. A new transportation contract we just entered into at the end of last year with Royal Coach. This in my transportation end is a challenge because we knew that was going to be an increase in the cost per trip for us. Electricity prices, this has also been in the news. NYSEG, thank goodness we're not Con Ed, but there's been a huge increase in electricity costs. And this district, and I'll get into it a little bit, uses a lot of electricity. All districts do. So this increase is a challenge that I'm always obsessing about future increases in electricity and energy costs, and here they are. Oil and gas price increases. This has been steady recently, but this is something I always am fearful that we might have a spike in these that will create some budget difficulties. There's been a significant increase in the use of facilities here that I'm going to get into a little bit too. Since the pandemic, there's been just a steady increase, and I have some theories as to why. Parks and Rec Department in our town has done a wonderful job adding a lot of services for the community, and we bring a lot of them in here, so I'll show you that. And increase in labor costs when we bring, if we can't get a job done and it's not in a capital project, we bring local contractors. Hopefully we try to find local folks, but you know, their prices are going up and they charge us more too. Okay, so those are my challenges. So starting with transportation, this is the transportation team. It's 22 people and it's 20.6 FTEs. A few of them are part-time. And I'm not going to, this is going to be kind of a long presentation, so I'm not going to list everybody, but here they are. So there's the 22 people that are district employees, mostly between Mike and Ryan and Sarah. Ryan is the mechanic, and Sarah and Mike really oversee the district transportation, and they also do runs themselves. And fill in as subs for the drivers you see in the middle there. Those are district employee drivers. And then the monitors. And on top of that, we also have Royal Coach is our new provider, and they have approximately 40 drivers and 8 monitors. So, you know, it's a decent size staff that we oversee there. That's about 70 or 80 people.
Dave, are you considered fully staffed right now in transportation?
For the moment. Transportation is always fluid.
As of today.
What's that?
I said as of today.
Yeah, as of today, yes, we are fully staffed. But so, you know, when the district our district, the way we divide it up, really the the Royal Coach, the contract bus company, does most of the to and from school runs with the large buses you see out there, and usually about 5 of the smaller buses. And then the district employees do most of the out-of-district transportation for our students. And that's how it's been. So sometimes, we work with Melissa and Natalie, and if we have a student get a new placement or something, we have to add a driver and a monitor and get a vehicle for them. So that could happen. That could happen today, tomorrow, we'll see. And the plan right now is to maintain the staff there. Okay, no increases, unless Melissa tells me I need to add something. This year, so last year we did a deep dive. We saw the transportation contract going out to bid, and I was very fearful that the new costs were going to increase the heck out of our total transportation costs and really put a strain on the budget. So we did a deep dive into the transportation, overall transportation for the district, and looking at all the finances of it, and we realized that adding more of our own Putnam Valley drivers was going to mitigate the risk and drive down our overall costs and more utilize our overhead better. So we this year we're welcomed a lot of new drivers, get them used to us. They've been a wonderful addition to a person. They've been great. They treat our students really well and take care of them. Royal Coach has been surprisingly good, better than. Well, I'm not going to trash the old one, but yeah, they've been good. They've been great. And Shane, their dispatcher, has been a pleasure to work with. So this is what I was talking about before, where the overhead utilization, we had that when I showed you Mike and Ryan and Sarah, and then we have the bus garage and everything. At one point we were down to about 5 drivers and a few monitors, and we had to sub everything else out to the contract company, and the analysis showed that we were underutilizing our overhead, the personnel overhead, the transportation building, and our vehicles. We had all these, we had 17 vehicles last year, now we have 18, but we had 18 vehicles and 5 drivers, right? So we were underutilizing our overhead, which is one of the reasons why we were able to add drivers and save money. So, Beacon Mobility, besides taking care of our students really well, they also came with a lot of technology.
Sorry,
and
David, just quickly, because we've been saying Royal Coach, just make the connection between Royal Coach
Beacon
and
Mobility is the parent company. Thank you for Royal Coach, is their local company that they had purchased, and they still sells Royal Coach on their buses, but Beacon Mobility is like a multi-billion-dollar company that is their parent company. One of the things they pitched to us when we hired them in a new contract was they came with a lot of technology. Last presentation I talked about the camera system they had that monitored how the bus drivers actually operate, and if their hands are off the wheel, if they go through a stop sign, they get dinged and it gets reported and all that. It has a bunch of cameras on the inside so we can investigate student behavioral issues and make sure they're all seated in the bus and safe going to school. But also, they brought this one we just implemented recently. It's an app. I just took that screenshot from a viewpoint that I get of all the buses that are out there at a time, and this is live. I can see them moving around and know where they are. We were able to give this technology to the main offices at each of the schools and to the dispatcher, Michael and Sarah at the transportation building. So if a question comes in of where a bus is, we don't have to radio them. We can see them on the screen live. So it's really cool. Also, they have geofencing technology which parents, if they sign up for this app, when this goes onto the website, you'll be able to link to a flyer. You hit that QR code, and it's a download of an app that you can get on your phone that will, when the bus gets within a quarter mile of your house, it'll give you a notification, so you're not like looking out the window to see when the bus is going to get there, and you'll know. So it's like, okay, the bus is a quarter mile away, that takes 30 seconds, go ahead and get out there. It just makes it so the kids aren't at the bus stops or out waiting too long, and helps parents know when they're going to get picked up.
If anybody wants to know when ES1 leaves the elementary school campus, I can text you. So that was my practice alert, and it still pops up on my phone every single morning. I'm actually very impressed. It's within the same minute.
Yeah.
Every single, I could use it as an alarm clock.
Yeah.
But every morning my phone goes ding.
Yeah,
ES1 is when
we
they're
rolled
here.
this out where Jeremy and I put it on our phones first to make sure it worked, because we didn't want to roll it out to the public. And then we did some teachers who live in town, and they rolled it out and said, okay, it had some kinks and we had to fix some things, but now we've rolled it out to the entire community. Except district buses don't have it, right? So if we do have like New Horizons and some of our special needs kids take district buses, and we don't have this technology on it, I've been talking with Beacon Mobility about the possibility, but it's their technology. They're not that interested in handing it to us. I said it won't be free, but whatever. So we're working on that. I'd love to get it for our buses too.
So to confirm, this has been rolled out?
Recently, we sent
Okay.
Connect Ed out to each of the bus runs. We have that technology to have them be able to download this app, and it's gone amazingly well.
Yeah. What's been the feedback you received from parents?
It's been wonderful. It's been great. People are really, in fact, there's a lot of no feedback, which is positive as far as I see it. But then we did get some thank yous. You know, this is good stuff.
And I assume
know.
there's some security in line where
They-
I can't monitor a bus. I have to have a
Right,
child on the bus.
you have to have a cell phone number that has been given to the district as a main point of contact for the student, and then you're able to sign up to see that bus that your student is on. They have that worked out.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is our operations team. These are the cleaners, custodials, and grounds staff, and Val, my senior office assistant. 19 folks here. We plan to keep it the same. It was a little bit higher, but we had an extra half an office assistant, or 0.4 before, and Val is very efficient, so she was able to do it with just one. So now we're down to 19. It seems like a good number of people, but understand that there's 3 schools, and there's 300,000 square feet between the 3 schools, and we have 2 shifts. We have usually 2 custodians for each school come in the morning about 5:30 or so, work till 2, and then after 2 o'clock we have 3 cleaners in each school approximately. There's some crossover a little bit that work from 2 to 10. So it's really not a lot per school, so there's and then there's the 3 grounds people that will take care of the 74 acres that we have to take care of here.
And I'm sorry, David, I just want to give him kudos. I mean, look at this floor. It's February.
Yeah.
And this floor looks like it did after the summer and the first day of school, so.
Yeah, they obviously take a lot of pride in their work, and the maintenance of the buildings and the equipment here, we have a fantastic team. Everybody knows that they care, and you could see it in everywhere you look, that they all care. And there's a culture that's been developed over many years here where people, and they care about every penny that's spent too. They're not whimsically spending money out there and going to Home Depot for nothing. They say they're going to shop around for everything. Yeah, but one of the next slide here, the cleaning and maintenance during the school year is 5 or 10% of what they do. Most of what they do during the school year is operational support for programs. Okay, so whether it's whether it's this board meeting, I'll show you here. Actually, Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Here. So, okay, so this is some of the stuff that they didn't do in the summer. We leveraged their skills to do work that's not in capital projects, basically. Sometimes they do it in conjunction with local contractors we hire. But these are some of the work that they do primarily in the summer or at 5:30 in the morning before everybody gets here. Because once school starts, we can't be working in a classroom working on stuff. So that's when projects are done. And then the cleaning is primarily done, we clean up after lunch and stuff during the day, but between 2 and 10 o'clock, we clean to 300,000 square feet. But operational support, this is what we support here. District programs, you can look at all those. Some don't take a lot. This, the folks, it took a good amount of time to set this up, and they're going to have to take it down, and we're going to have lunch here or breakfast here tomorrow morning. So that'll happen, and it's not magic. It's a lot of work, and they're very efficient and really good at it. But these are just a list of the district programs that we support, that we set up for, and take down and clean up after. Okay? There's non-revenue generating community support. These, when I said before that there's been a massive increase in the use of our facilities, you don't realize when you're not here, there's always something going on here. There's always something going on in all 3 of our schools and on campus when it's nice outside. Always a lot of things going on. This is just a small list of the things that we have to, as an operations team, set up for and clean up after. And then there are some revenue generating community support as well, that whether it's renting out the PAC, we take care of all of that, taking up and down the pit in the PAC. That team that I showed you does all of that. And enables us to derive some revenue from primarily the Performing Arts Center. The Wellness Center now derives a good amount of revenue, and the turf outside does as well. There's been a significant increase in the demand for those. The PAC is always full when we're not using it ourselves, and always being rented almost every weekend. You see dance competitions and things like that. The turf has been more and more, Mojo uses it, Palumbo, they've had a very successful program. They come and rent our turf out. And so, we derive some revenue, and our team supports all that. Here's what the athletic calendar, this is what the athletic calendar is. So after school is out, our team also supports, I know it's very small font, I'm sorry, Jeanette, but we support the athletic programs. Like a basketball game will be like, okay, we have to pull the bleachers out, and we have to put the table out and the chairs and all that stuff. That's a little bit of work, but everything is some amount of work to get ready, whether it's lining the baseball fields or putting goals out or setting up for sports activities. This operational team does all of that. Okay.
You have to think of it like a piece of art. Like it's meant to be viewed, not to be read.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Actually, this wasn't the slide I was talking about, though.
Okay, good. So this is another one with no font, right? The font is really small, but this is that was the athletic calendar. This is the facility use calendar for besides athletics. So that's February, right there. That was because I could actually fit it. Other months like January or longer months are even bigger, and you could see 6 days a week full of activities that we support here, whether it's a Boy Scout meeting or the Parks and Rec, and Parks and Rec again. We have a wonderful relationship with Parks and Rec. Whether it's Ray and Frank and Craig Catone and Amanda, they've built that program in town, Parks and Recreation program over the last couple of years to give our community a lot of options between Taekwondo, and there's stuff that you guys don't even know. I walk by and I see a Taekwondo class. I didn't even know that was going on in the elementary school gym, but we offer them our facilities free of charge, okay? And our team supports that, okay? All of these activities. That's what we do. So now, after last night's meeting, I came and I changed some of these things because I felt like I really wanted to download 8 years of my knowledge in capital projects and planning them and running them and how we finance them. I just felt like I wanted to download all of that to everybody and to give them an understanding. And so this is a chart that I made of the process for how we plan a capital project. There's a building conditions survey you can see on the left there. This is mandated by the state. I work with the architects. They look at every aspect of our buildings. They assess it and they give it a rating of 1 through 5. 1 is an emergency. I never have seen a 1. I never want to see a 1. This means it's a life and safety issue, or we can't open school, like a collapsed roof or something. 2s are something we put urgent attention to because we think they may fail in the next several years. 3 are things that we need to watch. 4 are things that are pretty good, but we have to keep an eye on. And 5s are kind of like a wish list for extra things. And that is an extensive survey. Architects, we have to do it every 5 years and make a plan. That goes into our, from that we develop a 5-year improvement plan. And this is a living document. It changes every day as I walk around and see different things that need to be done or could be done. I have continual input from the custodial staff, the tech team, the admin team, the faculty, hopefully some students, not enough. I don't get to talk to you guys enough. Architects and other experts to keep changing that plan and adapting it to the needs that the students have here, and the changing, and I consider changes in technology and programs, and have to adapt the facilities to adjust to those changes, right? And that plan that includes identified needs along with rough budget numbers. So these rough budget numbers are kind of end up being a contentious issue, but the architects will look at a project or a need and they'll say, okay, this is the nurse's suite, it's X number of square feet, and to redo that, we generally put $400 per square foot or whatever the number is on it. So these are just rough numbers based on the architect's experience. That's all they are, okay? So then a lot of these projects on this 5-year improvement plan, we continually try to get done as we can with our in-house, with our custodial staff, particularly in the summer. And then sometimes we contract out work and to hopefully local contractors to do some of that work. And I had that list back here of the things that we do there, right? And then things that we can't do or can't afford, they're just too big, like a parking lot renovation, retaining walls. We can't do that in-house, or they're too expensive. I have to go out to bid on it. And those kind of projects, we have to put them into a capital improvement project. Okay, we have to do that. We can't afford to do it in-house. So those things make it to the next time we have a project. And we don't have these projects every year. We generally plan these capital improvement projects for when we have retiring debt so that we can use that debt so that we can do these projects without having impact on taxpayers. We plan these out. The next time after this next thing that we're planning this capital project for, there's another 7 years out. There's more retiring debt that I look at to say, okay, there's the opportunity to fit in things that I see 7 years from now and might need to be done. Like an elementary school roof, it's 12, 15 years old. It's not going to, it's going to be at 20 years by the time we get to the next retiring debt. That elementary school roof is going to need to be replaced. It's going to be a big expense. It's going to have to go into a capital project. Middle school roof, the same thing. Okay, this one will be done by then, because we did half of it 2 years ago, and the other half we're going to hopefully do in this next project. But besides big projects, we also want to put other projects into capital improvement projects, because the bad news is we have to follow the SED approval process, which means we have to have architects do drawings that are submitted to the State Education Department that have to follow all of their requirements, the stringent requirements on whether it's fire safety and ventilation and all the things that they require, and they have to have stamped engineers and architects' drawings, and we have to have them do all that work and pay all that money to them. But they submit those plans to the state. So that's the bad news. The good news is we get 2/3 of that money back of anything we spend from the state into our coffers. So those projects, if we spend $1 million, we get $700,000 or $670,000 back from the state. So the projects that we're able to put into the capital projects, they cost us about 1/3 as much as if we did it without doing that process. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The funding on these capital projects, like this is the most important thing, is that state aid number. We get 66% back. And then the other funding sources, we look at energy performance contracts. This is where savings on electricity or oil or energy will pay for a bond over time to pay for the project. We did one of these back in 2018. It was about a $7 million project. We saved a bunch of money on burning oil. I'll show you that in a minute here. That's an opportunity once in a while. We've basically expended most of those opportunities with the LED lights and stuff we put in here. Then there's some unique grants. Some of the projects you've seen, like this, the courtyard here that we built with the wall out there, that was a one-time COVID money that we were able to spend on outdoor learning. So we took advantage of that opportunity and that state grant funding, basically, to do some nice, wonderful projects for the students to have some outdoor opportunities, right? And then the other is debt bond issuing. So if projects don't make it into the capital improvement project, like we're going to cut some things, and we did cut some things, which we'll go over, but they will go back to the 5-year improvement plan. Some will never be done. Some are just ideas that I'd like to do, or we'd like to do, or community members would like to do, students would like to do. They'll never get done because we can't afford it or whatever. They just don't make sense based on the economics. But they'll go back there, and then you'll just recycle back through and hopefully get done when we can afford it. So the capital project planning that we did this year, these are some of the highlights. We had an open invitation to the community to join the capital, which is well advertised. Anybody could have joined. We had a really nice turnout. And again, this is my perspective of it. Might not be the same. I might have missed some steps here. But I took the committee on an extensive tour of each campus to show them what my opinions were on what things needed to be done. And they came up and showed them, say, look, this is the condition. This is what the retaining wall looks like. This is, here's the turf and the track, and we showed them everything. So it's not just my word for it. We showed them. We brought them down in the elementary school basement, which is a kind of a dungeony place. But we showed them those old boilers that look like they're 100 years old, but they're only about 20. So we toured the facilities to look firsthand at what the projects in that 5-year plan were. Then we brought in a financial advisor to give a detailed presentation to the committee on how much we could spend without raising taxes. Now, we the whole goal here is to never raise taxes with one of these things. We don't want to do that, nor do we want to ever eat into programs for the students. But in the capital project, so they told us, and they gave us 3 different scenarios where we could borrow, where we could do a project for $22 million, $19 million, and $16 million. And all 3 of those options, none of the 3 of those would have an impact on taxpayers. It would be a 0 increase in taxes if we did those projects. We wanted to be more conservative than that, and we picked projects that totaled, according to really rough estimates by the architects, about $14 million. So it was a conservative approach that the committee took to that. We didn't spend as much as we could. So then the committee collaborated and to vet and come up with different project ideas. They weren't all mine. They weren't all Jeremy's. The whole committee came together and we looked at a lot of different ideas. Then we said, okay, well, here's our wish list. And we went to KGD Architects and they came up with really, again, rough budget numbers for what each one of these things are going to cost. They're not exact. They're just budget numbers. They're not estimates. They're not quotes. They're budget numbers. And then they came back and said, okay, this costs, whatever, $40 million, the projects you came up with. And we vetted those, talked about those, weeded some things out, and we took a lot of things out. We were going to look at solar canopies in the parking lot here to produce electricity when we redid the parking lot. I looked at other solar canopies over the bus garage parking lot over there to produce solar for us. I was really into that, obviously. Covered walkways between these schools. We looked at that, a covered walkway here. We looked at covered walkways at the elementary school to keep the kids out of the rain to get into that building out behind the elementary school. We took them out of the project. We looked at the expenses like, nah, we got to keep it down to stuff we really, really want and need here, especially need. We had looked at turfing over this flat area here between the locker rooms and the back of the bleachers there. Look at turfing the whole thing. We had quotes on it, had it all planned out, looked at the turf. We also looked at turfing the entire backfield where the softball field is and soccer back there. We took those out. Okay, those were cut from the project. Okay, so that's the project that you saw here. That is been whittled down by the committee over this whole process to that estimated $14 million deal. So those are the components, and this is what the board presented to the public as what the capital project should be. This is the slide I just put in. You can see I put no fancy pictures with it, but I just put it in this morning after seeing that the response last night and the questions, really listening to people, what their concerns and questions were. I said, you know what, I want people to understand the process from there. It's not over. It's just getting started. So if the voters approve a project, whether it's the one we put up or an altered one, and that's up to you guys. But then we meet with the architects and we collaborate with the committee members, district staff, other stakeholders to design each one of the projects. I've already met with the nurses at the elementary school several times. I met with Megan Boyle and Margaret and Carly over at the elementary school to talk about the playground over there and what they felt their needs were. But we will reassemble those stakeholders and the architects to really design more of the details of each one of these projects that the board puts out as the scope of the capital project. We want to ensure each project meets the district standards for functionality, durability, and aesthetics. This is what I think about: operational functionality for our students, how to make things run smoother, how to have these projects last a long time. We're a school district that's been around for 90 years. I would imagine we'll be around for 100. I want stuff not to fall apart. I don't want to burden the taxpayers 10 years from now because we built something that didn't last for 20, it only lasted for 10. And then aesthetics, as you can tell, I like things to look real nice. So anyway, then we have the architects that draw the plans, and then after they draw those plans, they come back to us with what they feel are more accurate numbers, more towards an estimate, not a quote on a project, but these are like, okay, now that we've built this out, we've drawn all the plans out, this is what we think based on it, our experience, what it's going to cost to do this work, and they have to build in some cushion for escalation, inflation, if there's tariffs or whatever happens, or they have to build some of that in, and they give us those more accurate budget numbers. When we built the wellness center, we thought when they did this part of the process, they came back and it blew our budget numbers out. It was $1 million more than we had thought it was going to be. So we had to do some what they called value engineering. It's 25 feet shorter than we had planned it being. It was going to have a lot more windows. We adjusted that based on what the architects felt it was really going to cost us. Okay, so that's that part of the plan. So, and other times it'll come in less, and we're like, whew, that's good, right? So we modify plans. Then the architects redraw the plans if necessary to value engineer them and get them within our budgets. Then they will submit the plans to SED. This is a months-long process. The SED gives feedback to them, and they have to submit explanations of why they're doing what they're doing and all that. And they comment on the plans, and then hopefully they approve the plans. They come back to us, and we get those plans, and then we put them out to bid, right? So we hopefully, last time when we did that big capital project, I think there was like 30 contractors bidding on different things, and so this is how the school gets the best price on each one of those projects, is we go out to bid, and in the marketplace, we have to take the lowest bid on these projects. That's how it goes, okay? And then the projects are awarded to the lowest bidder. And we don't have to take it then. We can not do it. If the lowest bidder is higher than we thought, we can just say, okay, we're not doing that project. We have that, the board has that ability to do that. And then if we do award the projects, then we get to work. And as I keep telling Dr. Love, every project that we've been involved with since I've been here, on time, under budget, and comes out looking great. Okay, so everyone. We've done $30 million worth of projects in the last 8 years. Other projects in town, this doesn't happen like this. But here, everyone, right?
The bridge is open.
The bridge is open, right. Tip of the hat to them. They finally got it open.
We did have one close call with a Labor Day fire inspection when kids were coming the next day.
That is still on time. They were opening the next day.
You got it done. You got it done.
It was very stressful for me.
Dreading that one.
So, okay, so I'm going to get into a little egghead stuff on energy projects, because this is stuff I look at that affects, I'm not going to go over any one of the individual projects that we had into the capital project, but there's a couple projects that I just want to talk about briefly, because they will, as a budget presentation, they will affect future budgets. This is the history of Putnam Valley energy use. Very exciting history here, but it's important to know. 1972, when that school was built next door, the middle school, it had electric baseboard heat. It did not have air conditioning.
Yeah.
What's that? You remember that? So do I. I was there. I was there in 1978, 79, and 80. Anyway, and then in 1998, this really visionary guy, Paul Lee, put in did an energy performance contract back then because the electric heat was so expensive. He was able to save money to pay for a geothermal system that was really innovative back then. Nobody was doing it back then. And they put in geothermal ground source system at the middle school, and it provided both heat and air conditioning to that school using the temperature of the earth to do it. That's our source. And so we stopped using electricity for heat and started using geothermal. And then in 2019, we added some rooftop solar panels on all the flat roofs at the middle school. We did some LED lighting upgrades to reduce our juice, and then put in a building management system like occupancy sensors and things to reduce energy there. High school, Paulie liked that geothermal so much and how it performed at the middle school, decided when we built this high school, he'd put the geothermal in here, and the board agreed, and they did that here. And since then, this high school has not used one drop of oil. We didn't use oil then. We didn't decide to put burners in. We put geothermal in, and it provides heating and cooling to this school since 2000, again, without using any oil. In 2019, as part of that energy performance contract, we put rooftop solar panels on all the flat roofs here. There's a lot of curved roofs here, so it's not the whole rooftop. We also did LED lighting upgrades and a building management system for this school too. The elementary school has obviously a longer history. In 1935, they had a coal-fired a steam boiler in there. They switched to an oil burner, and they had to replace that oil burner at a great upset to the operations and the school. It was in 2004 or 5 or somewhere around there, before my time here. And there was no air conditioning there. They had some air conditioning window units there. In 2019, as part of that energy performance contract, we were able to put a geothermal system in that school to provide heating and cooling to about a third of that elementary school. And when we did that, and I oversaw that project, we had planned to do the whole school eventually. We couldn't afford to as part of that contract, but we did put futures in. We did run piping out, and we did adequately size the return and the pipes that go from the fields to the school and back, to accommodate more wells to be able to expand the system. So we were thinking ahead there to eventually doing the whole school in geothermal, right? So right now it's a third geothermal and 2/3 are heated with the oil burner, and the air conditioning. You see those window units in like the K-wing at the elementary school are not very efficient, but window air conditioning units to keep those oil heated areas cool in the summer. Again, the font, sorry. So this is some math that we did, and I did some calculations looking at the square footage at the elementary school and what oil we burned there. And if we had chosen to move the middle school over to an oil burner system, and when we took out the electric baseboard heat, and if we had built this school with an oil burners, we would have burned 4 million gallons of oil since 1999. 4 million, like a tanker full. It's a lot of oil. At $3 and something per gallon, which has been the average, it would have been about $13 million we would have spent on oil that we saved by doing geothermal over that period of time. Now, if we convert the rest of that elementary school to geothermal and get rid of the oil altogether, it's about 30,000 gallons a year, depending on how cold it is, but about that we burn now that will just be completely eliminated. And again, it's about $100,000 based on $3.33 a gallon or so. The kilowatts, this is, I'm sorry.
See, you can't see it, Dave.
These are the kilowatts since the 2019 solar
This
panels.
is, that's since, right. Since 2019, we've saved about 1.25 million kilowatts in electrical use, saving about $150,000 a year. If we add solar to the Wellness Center roof, the Wellness Center is a 14,000 square foot building. We had some solar companies look at it. Only one half of it is really positioned properly for solar, so it'd be about a 7,000 square foot solar array. When we built the Wellness Center, some students asked me, make sure that we can put solar on there. I said, okay, we'll plan it to put solar on there. And now we plan to do that here, and that will produce some more electricity for us, obviously about 200. These are rough estimates based on the square footage. These aren't a quote, but that 20,000 isn't good either. Now it's up to about 30,000 because of the price of electricity. Would be the savings annually by doing that. So yeah, here's what I talked about the elementary school, 30,000 gallons a year that we'll save if we put geothermal in there. And the green in the middle is, I talked to a geothermal guy from NYSERDA this morning, and I asked him, I said, are there any other schools in New York who are completely off oil and use geothermal for heating and cooling? And he said, I don't think there's any other school districts that do this completely. I don't think there's any other in the country. So I think we will be the first district in the country to provide all of our heat and air conditioning with geothermal if we get this done. Pretty exciting stuff, right? This bottom one is very important. I keep mentioning geothermal provides heating and cooling. The cooling, most other schools, you guys don't know it, but you're spoiled a little bit here. It's always about 70 to 72, right? Other schools, the temperature, they don't have air conditioning in all the classrooms. And a new state mandate went in, say if the temperature in a classroom goes up to 85 degrees, you need to do some mitigating work, fans and stuff, and open windows. If it gets to 88 degrees, you can't operate the school. You need to close it down. Instructional time will get killed. So these school districts that aren't Putnam Valley, that don't have geothermal, that don't have air conditioning, are scrambling right now. They're looking at capital projects to spend millions and millions of dollars on how to cool their classrooms. Big chilling units or whatever they're doing. It's very difficult to convert. An oil burner is good for heat, but you can't convert it to cooling, right? So you have to do a whole new system to cool. Schools are bugging out about that right now, but not us. Okay, that's the Wellness Center roof I talked about. Because this is the...
David?
What? Sure.
For the roof, there's a concern out in the community that putting solar panels on the roof jeopardize and compromise the roof itself by puncturing it. Can you address that?
Of course, yeah. So I've learned a lot here, obviously, in my time running these projects. The solar panels that we installed back here, and as part of that EPC, they use a ballast system. There's no penetrations in the roof. So there's like these aluminum ballasts that they put these cement blocks in, believe it or not. It looks pretty simple, but someone made a lot of money inventing these things because you put those on, it holds them down, is good with winds up to 150 miles an hour
So
or
it's
something.
placing weight on
It's
them
just weight
and
to
not
hold them down.
drilling into the
So there's
subsurface.
there's zero penetrations into the roof.
Okay.
And actually, the thing that diminishes the life of a roof mainly is the sun.
Yeah.
And so having these solar panels on top of roofs with this ballast system actually extends the life of a roof. It doesn't make it more susceptible to leaks. It does the opposite.
That's
Right?
boy, thank you, because that's been a real concern in some of the conversations I've had in the community that, putting the solar panels on, we're destroying the roof.
Yep.
And I thank you for explaining that.
Okay.
And Dave, real quick, I know you've talked about where the solar panels are located, and I was asked that question also last night. I said I'd be lying if I told them an answer.
Yeah,
So
it
can you
was
just say
when we
real
did
quick?
this energy performance contract. It was a wonderful project. I was so excited about it, but no one saw any of it. The geothermal was underground, and the solar panels are on the roof. It's like, well, it's not. Yeah, what'd you do, Dave? Well, and the LED lights were just new light bulbs. What did we do for $7 million? All of the flat roofs at the middle school, all of the flat roofs here have solar panels on them. If you see Google Earth, you can see that. Fly a drone, we have some pictures of it. And the transportation building as well has some solar panels on it. There's a small installation there. Again, of course, I'm thinking for the future, elementary school roof, when we replace that, I think there's a lot of big flat areas there with no equipment on the roof. We can add a really nice solar array there to produce a bunch more electricity for us. So this is what we've done so far. We used to use 3.2 almost million kilowatts a year in electricity. I don't know what we used back in the day when we had electric baseboard heat at the middle school. I couldn't go back that far, but that's what we used on average a year. It was about 3.2 million kilowatts. The energy performance contract reduced that down to about 2.3 million. And with this solar array on the Wellness Center roof, we can whack that down to just over 2 million kilowatts. Okay? It's a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
There's 300,000 square feet in this district that need to be lighted, and we do use some juice to run the fans and pumps for the geothermal as well. This is a nerdy thing, but I love it because this shows actually the energy use in BTUs and how efficient our school district is and how we use, what fuel sources we use for all energy here. And in 2017, you could see the high school used electricity, in the middle school, that blue bars are electricity. The elementary school used that much in electricity, but then had that additional amount in oil that we use, which was very inefficient. The nationwide average for educational institutions is about 83 and a half on this list. So all the other schools are half of that. We're twice as efficient as the average nationally. The 2018 EPC, Energy Performance Contract, reduced that electric use. You can see there, those blue bars went down a bit. And then the elementary school, the geothermal brought that red bar down to where the elementary school is finally closer to the national average, and the other two schools are way below. We're way more efficient in how we heat and cool. And then these last three bars are what it would look like if we do those portions of that capital project that we're talking about. If we do the solar and the geothermal, we will get rid of the red, which is the oil, and that's what our energy use profile will look like as a district. And I'll put it up against anybody's. And next, I'm just going to talk about costs a little bit and why I'm so obsessed about this and how we can protect our school district long-term against spikes in costs that will eat into the budget, right? This is what the actual numbers are. This is how much we spent on oil and electricity since 2015 each year, okay? You can see the energy performance contract whacked it down. This is kind of, you see this uneven graph, 2019, 2021, 20 and 21. Yeah, those are weird years, obviously, because of COVID, windows open, no school sometime, whatever. It was a lot going on there. But the price of energy was also cheap. So this fluctuates around because of different temperature years and of different fluctuations in cost. But the total in 2014-15 was $500,000 in energy expense, and you can see these last several years we're down at around $400,000, right? Even though the price of energy went up, we were able to save about $100,000 a year overall. So that's what I just talked about there a little bit. So the reason why I was so crazy about this is that if the price goes up in electricity or oil, it can really affect budgets, right? I was reading, well, I heard a district that's in Con Ed just had a surprise increase to the budget next year of $800,000 because of the increase in electricity down in Con Ed. I don't want that to happen to Putnam Valley, all right? So the more we do to create our own electricity, our own energy here with our own resources, the sun that comes in here, the ground underneath, the more we can save long-term, right? So that's why I want to do more of this sustainable energy, right? Something else I want to mention here is that, just real quick, it is a law that this Inflation Reduction Act will give us between 30 and 40% of a direct payment to the school district on both the geothermal project and the solar project, on top of the state aid. We won't get more than 100%, but if we get 66% back in state aid and we get 30% IRA funding, which is a law, these projects, this geothermal and this solar, will essentially cost the district zero, and it will produce this this electricity and heat and air conditioning for us for a long time, right? So one other thing, just that Jackie's helped me with this. We were recently nominated by New York State as the only school district in New York State to be nominated to the federal government as a national green ribbon school. Every time in the past they've been nominated, they would get it. So I think we're going to get it if that Department of Education still does things like that. So we really proud of the work we did to get that green ribbon nomination. Any questions?
That's very thorough, David, thank you.
Yeah, I know, it's a long deal.
No,
Sorry, it's a lot,
It's
though.
important, especially the capital projects
Yeah.
material. The reasoning behind why the projects were on the list to begin with.
Right,
You
and
know,
I'm happy to answer any questions
Yeah.
about the process, and that's what I felt coming out of last night, that's like, I really just wanted to, give all that information I just give to everybody in that room, and I know I'd bore the crap out of everybody, but I wanted to give that in public so it's here, and that people understand how we approach it. It's a very thoughtful, very thoughtful process, and we really try to save the taxpayers as much money as we can and never impact the education services for the students. That's our goal. All right?
Thank you, Dave. You can
All right.
definitely tell your passion in facilities.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I wish you could bring a little passion with you.
Sorry, it's just how I talk. Sorry. Any other questions?
Excellent, David.
I just want to point out, I think two of the items that are most impressive to me is the list that you showed in the beginning, the amount of work that is accomplished between the partnership between our own in-house staff and local contractors. And the projects that we're able to accomplish this way save taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've worked in several school districts, and with few exceptions, having the skilled labor in-house that we do and the partnerships we have with local contractors that allow this to get done is unheard of in many districts. So $1 million project to build a middle school support suite was accomplished with $100,000 of in-house talent and local labor to be able to produce the same output. And it's just an amazing recognition for both Dave and his staff that are able to accomplish so much. And I think the chart that captures the savings of the sustainable energy sources that the district has really, again, saved taxpayers money in the long run, and an investment in the foresight that went into investing in geothermal in 1998 when those projects started, I think is just hugely impressive. And I know many of my colleagues are like, wait, how do you have air conditioning? People are freaking out about this state legislation where they have to find new spaces for any classroom that's above 88 degrees, because I have colleagues who say every one of my classrooms is above 88 degrees at the end of June or the beginning of September, and they have no idea what they're going to do with their kids if they can't occupy those spaces. And I get all kinds of looks when I'm like, oh, we have central air, so we don't have to worry about it. And it's unheard of, again, in public education to have both air conditioning and heat the way we do here. So thank you.